Everybody wants to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Outside the Playbook. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about some comments that LeBron James made on Mind of the Game about rings. All right, before we get into that, there's some things going on around the league that's really have my attention right now. And a couple things that is kind of a situation where the more things change, the more they stay the same. Let's start with the New York Knicks having another offseason where they're chasing their tail. Knicks denied permission to speak with 4 active coaches, reports say. Tom Thibodeau was fired on June 3rd after 5 seasons with the New York Knicks, and search is now underway for his replacement. Please help me understand why this makes sense. Look, we know he plays his players, his starters, extended minutes, but it's the job of the organization to give him a bench to play. That's the biggest complaint you can come up with Tibbs, as far as, also in-game adjustments here and there, but they got to the conference finals. They beat the Boston Celtics, and before Tatum was even injured, they had them on the ropes, 3-1 lead. So it's not a situation where you can say, Boston was, teetering, injuries, ailments. They were beating them before that, all right? And you got to the conference finals. Now, my issue with the whole Tibbs thing is your best player on the team, your franchise player said, there is not a single person I want more to be our head coach than Tom Thibodeau. Your GM says, I'm not planning on firing Tom Thibodeau, and if he is fired, it's not me pulling the trigger. Everybody's going to instantly point back to James Dolan. We know what the problem is. It is James Dolan. Now, you're saying firing Tibbs is better than is the right route to go, and then you're going to follow it up and say, you know what? The New York Knicks were denied permission to speak with coaches Jason Kidd of the Dallas Mavericks, Ime Udoka of the Houston Rockets, Chris Finch of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Quinn Snyder of the Atlanta Hawks in a slow start to find Tibbs' replacement, according to multiple reports. You are trying to poach other organizations for their head coach, and you had a perfectly good one that got you to the conference finals. Make it make sense? Of course it doesn't make sense. And let's add on to that. You can say whatever you want to. You can believe whatever it is you want to believe. But this man right here, Kevin Durant, said that the New York Knicks are at the top of his list. You have the assets to move players to get a Kevin Durant. It's not going to be the first time we would have seen Mikal Bridges get traded for Kevin Durant, because we know for a fact that's not a bad deal. It works out for both sides. It's a good trade. Put Mikal Bridges in the deal, put another player in the deal. Give me two draft picks. No. Give me 4 of them things. Mikal Bridges, another player, 4 draft picks, send them to Phoenix. You could have had Kevin Durant. So you would have started the offseason with your head coach in place, your point guard, your power forward. You would have had an opportunity to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals if you would have added this man. But you pass on that. Don't understand what's going on in New York. Don't even think they understand. But there's a lot of flags going on right here, because it's very clear that James Dolan is the problem. Whoever the next coach is, if he doesn't win a championship, he automatically needs to understand he's just a rental. He's going to be there 1 or 2 seasons, and he's going to be fired like the rest of them. Now, there is something else that took place over the past couple weeks. Michael Beasley went one-on-one with Lance Stevenson, 100K on the line, won the game. Great game. Loved it. Loved the energy. All right. Now, they took that same energy. They took it to the big 3. There was a lot of stuff going on. Lance and Dwight Howard, they went at it, got into a fight or a wrestling match or whatever you want to call it. Before that, Michael Beasley said, I'm not going to repeat how he phrased it, but he would beat Carmelo Anthony one-on-one. This is Carmelo Anthony's response to that.
Yeah.
Hey,
You know what I'm saying?
let me clear this up.
Clear it up.
we go.
Say what you gotta say.
But let me clear this up.
Please. I need this.
Let me clear this up. I'm not losing a one-on-one game, bro. I'm not.
Stamp that shit.
I've never lost a one-on-one game. I'm not saying I'm going out there playing. What I'm saying is I done did this shit. I got ridiculed for doing this shit at the highest level. For being a one-on-one nigga. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not going out there and playing no one-on-one. I want to sit there and support a nigga like Bees for the culture.
Of course.
And put my money on a nigga like Bees because I know there's not too many niggas who can fuck with Bees on a one-on-one.
But I'm just saying, at some point, with this league growing, somebody's going to talk that shit.
They could.
And you're going to want to play.
Nah, I'm retired, man.
Yo, you did.
I don't want to play this shit, man. I don't
know who you fooling, dog.
Man, you bugging, Chad. You
bugging.
really don't know what my mindset is right there. I'll stay mellow to the fullest, but I'm not getting out there lacing them shits up, Chad. You niggas is bugging.
Somebody from his past.
Someone's going to do it.
I don't know which one of y'all sitting at home this man had a problem with.
What?
Whoever had an issue, if you ever want your issue.
And they would be capping. It would just be for
he
cap.
gonna lace.
Now, apologize for the language, but he's not wrong. He is 100% correct. And Joe Johnson made comments, that he's willing to play, but the bag isn't big enough. He'll take $500K because he also has the man's name is ISO Joe. All right, his name is ISO Joe. We know what we're getting out of Joe Johnson in this conversation. All right. Carmelo Anthony, though, he's somebody who doesn't get the respect that he deserves. See, Melo has over 28,000 points, and he's top 10 all time in scoring, and they tried to blackball him for over a year and a half. Like, I don't understand why this conversation keeps being brought up to the point where, we disrespect what Carmelo Anthony brought to the table game in and game out. We're going to get to some of that in just a minute because he falls into another category that we're going to touch on. But as far as one-on-one, 3-point, post up, mid-range, get to the cup, Carmelo Anthony can score anywhere on the basketball court. And once you get on that island, it's scary. It's scary for a lot of people because not a lot of people is going to be able to move him off the block. They're not strong like he is. He could play bully ball. He could play finesse because his handle was like that. He was a pure scorer. When we talk about some of the greatest scorers ever, pure scorers, Carmelo Anthony is in that conversation. I'd say top 5 of getting a bucket on an island, isolation. He's one of the greatest we've ever seen. So we need to stop being so disrespectful when it comes to this conversation. Now, on to his boy, LeBron James. LeBron said before, all right, that he was chasing a ghost. We already know who that ghost was. And in order to catch that ghost, there's certain things that you need to have on your resume. There's a meme going around for the past several years. It's Giannis and LeBron racing, all right? Giannis ends up grabbing, I believe it was a trophy. LeBron speeds past him because he's chasing a ghost. So the thought has already been put on the table. Everybody knows what's going on. He's chasing Michael Jordan, right? What did LeBron have to say on Mind of the Game this episode?
I don't know why it's discussed so much in our sport and why it's the A-all, B-all of everything. You sit here and you tell me, Allen Iverson and Charles Barkley and Steve Nash, are fucking wasn't unbelievable. Like, oh, they can't be talked about or discussed with these guys.
And my bad for the language. I typically don't have this on my channel, but, for the sake of the video, all right?
Because this guy won 1 ring or won 2 rings or won, like, it's just weird to me. It's like saying Peyton Manning can't be in the same room with Brady or Mahomes because he only has 1 ring. They don't never discuss that in their sport.
Right.
Now, Peyton Manning has 2 rings, all right? 1 in Indiana, 1 in Denver. But to his point, no, he can't be in the same room with Tom Brady and Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes got 4. Tom Brady got 7. He cannot be in the same room because the criteria, let's not talk about criteria. Let's talk about it like this, okay? Once you get into the greatest of all time conversation, the amount of nitpicking that goes on in that conversation, you can't go into that with 2 and this dude has 4 out of 5 seasons and this one he has 7 total. Like, you can't do that. You can't thrust a Peyton Manning into that conversation. We're not going to have a situation where, you know, Charles Barkley is in the same conversation with a LeBron James when we're talking about career. Why? Because he doesn't have that thing. We're not going to put certain players, you know, like, all right, he brought up Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson, one of the nicest players ever. Nicest handle, heart, energy, effort, everything you want out of a basketball player, especially offensively. But we're not going to have a conversation of him and Dwayne Wade, which we'll get to in just a minute.
Or telling me that Dan Marino is not the greatest slinger of all time, or he can't be in the room with those guys because he didn't win a championship. They don't discuss those things, you know. I don't know. I don't know. Did Barry Bonds win a World Series? I don't think so. I don't think so. Barry Bonds never won a World Series. And you can't sit here and tell me that he's not the greatest baseball player to ever touch a bat. I mean, Jerry West,
He did not
went to like
win
9 straight NBA finals.
Right.
And,
The logo.
and was only able to win 1. And he's the logo of our league.
Now, I let that play. I said what I said. Let's hear from somebody who has a different argument.
He's better because he scored more points. Oh, he's better because I like his game better. Oh, he's better because he won more rings. This conversation never goes anywhere. Let's use a hotel. All right, a hotel has 30 floors, okay? We're talking about an access key. When I look at the game, I look at who has an access key to get to the 30th floor, okay? So the 30th floor access key in winning, I can't go to 30. Bill Russell's up there. Jordan up there. I may be on floor 25, but I ain't at floor 30. That doesn't make them, that doesn't mean anything to me. It just means that I don't have access to go to that floor. So if you have not won a ring, it doesn't mean you're not colder than somebody who won a ring. You just don't have access to go to the ring floors. Winning a ring is a whole different game than being a great player and having stats and having this and having that. This is the sacrifice. I can have more stats if I didn't care about winning a ring.
Yep.
So this is a different conversation.
Now, I 100% agree with him. There's different things that you need to have on your resume to be involved in certain conversations. Now, to LeBron's point, though, that doesn't mean that Charles Barkley wasn't nice. Allen Iverson wasn't nice. Peyton Manning wasn't nice. That doesn't mean these players ain't have game. They couldn't hoop. James Harden can play. Some of the greatest scoring records we'll ever see came from that man in an era where, you know, iso ball was really starting to become the way of the game. Like, you know, a lot of it was, you know, transitioning from a lot of team-oriented basketball, the San Antonio Spurs type of, you know, playing basketball, ball movement and all that. ISO heavy basketball, James Harden revolutionized this. All right. He came before SGA. He was doing it at an insane level, right? But we're not going to put him in the same conversation as these other guys because they don't have championships. Now, I think ring culture is different from what I'm saying. Ring culture says Charles Barkley shouldn't speak or talk at all on any talented player because he doesn't have a championship. Allen Iverson, he was nice, he was good for the culture, but he shouldn't be discussed because he doesn't have a championship. Karl Malone cannot be involved in a conversation for one of the greatest power forwards ever because he doesn't have a championship. John Stockton is effectively being completely removed from the conversation of one of the greatest point guards ever because he doesn't have a championship, even though he's the leader all time and the biggest stat we look to say this guy was a good point guard. That's ring culture. So to LeBron's point, yes, ring culture is weird, but to Dwayne Wade's point, you can't put guys without a ring in the same conversation with people who has 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. So let me know in the comments, is ring culture damaging the conversation surrounding the basketball game that we love so much? Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. That's one more for the good guys.